السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلوا وسلم وبارك على Muhammad. A few years ago, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the opportunity to go for Hajj. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala currently has taken away from pretty much the entire Muslim world. Apart from a very few select people, pretty much nobody can go for Hajj. During one of the days when I was there, we were performing tawaf, and it was my wife and I who were performing the tawaf. And it came close to the time of Fajr. So we decided to sit down and pray Fajr before we continued with Sa'i, it means Safa and Marwa. And normally we would find a place where we were close to each other. But on this particular occasion it was quite busy, so we ended up sitting quite far apart. And I sat next to an elderly man who was in his wheelchair. And as I sat next to him, he asked me, he said, "What time is Fajr going to be?" I said, "The adhan should be said in a few minutes and Fajr will be after that." He said, "What about the adhan that was given about an hour ago?" And initially I was very confused. But then I realized that the adhan he was talking about is the adhan that they give to mark that the last third of the night had started. So if you wanted to pray your tahajjud or whatever it was, you can do that. So I explained to him that actually that is what that adhan was, and that the time for Fajr starts at a particular time and it hasn't started yet, and so it will start soon. And so this man had been sitting there for about an hour or so, waiting for Fajr. And he sort of looked at me and said, "Son, I can't afford a watch, so I don't really know what time it is." I don't think there's been a moment like that ever where I wished I had my watch on me so I could give it to him. Anyway, the conversation went on. He asked me about my experience. He asked me about my Hajj. He asked me if I had stepped into the mataf area. I said I have, and in fact I had performed one of my first tawafs in the mataf area. And he got really excited by it. He was very happy. He was gleaming. And then he looked down at his wheelchair and he said, "That's something I can't even," he said, "It's something I can't even imagine about." He made dua for me, he made dua for my wife, we prayed Fajr and then we departed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "Lillahi mulku samawati wal ard." Everything belongs in this dunya to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ. He creates whatever He wants. يَهَبُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ إِنَاثًا. To whomever He wants, He gives a female. وَيَهَبُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءَ الذَّكُورَ. And to whomever He wants, He gives a male. أَوْ يُزَوِّجُهُمْ ذُكْرَانًا وَإِنَاثًا. And to some He gives a male and a female. وَيَجْعَلُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ عَقِيمًا. And to some He gives nothing. إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ قَدِيرٌ. These verses talk about children, but the principle is the same. To some people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give more, and to some people, He will give less. And the question isn't so much about what or how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, but rather what we do about what is given to us. Are we patient when something is taken away or when we are given less? When your car breaks down and you end up with a big bill. When you lose a family or a friend, which a lot of us have lost in the last year or two. When you are going through a divorce. When you lose your wallet. Or your business has to close down because of the situation at the moment. Are we grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He gives you more? When you have a watch that you can wear that can tell you time, when you can walk, amongst other nice things. What do we do with what Allah has given us? And part of being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from what He has given us is to make use of it appropriately and timely. We know of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam where he advises us to make use of 5 things before they are taken away. Your youth before your old age. Your health before your sickness. Your wealth before your poverty. Your free time before you are occupied with other things. And your life before you die. Be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you have these. And don't wait for these to be taken away from you before you realize their value. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you something and gives you an opportunity, He gives it to you for a short period of time. And at the end of that, He will take it away. And you will be asked about what you did with that opportunity. Hajj is an important example. Most people had an opportunity and then the opportunity at the moment has been taken away. And if you have wealth, then doing qurbani is another opportunity. On a side note, we know that there is some variation on the opinion as to whether when you do a qurbani, whether it is something that you have to do as an individual or whether that is something that you can do on behalf of your family. And under certain fiqh, it is an individual responsibility, which is particularly relevant for young adults. And the idea is that if you can afford it, and the criteria for affordability is usually set as being able to have the nisab value, which is very low, and then you must do so. And keeping fiqh aside, looking at the list of the prices for qurbani, the cheapest one is very cheap. So if you have a small amount of saving, give from it. Do this qurbani for yourself. To conclude, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives more to some people, whether that is wealth or whether that is success. These are things given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you are not going to be judged on something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided how much to give. So everyone is level, everyone is equal based on that. But what you did with it and how you reacted after something was given to you or taken away from you is what you will be judged on. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.